The Golden State Warriors are one of the most interesting teams headed into the 2021-22 season. Bit of the intrigue has gone now that Andrew Wiggins has received his first dose of the vaccine and will be eligible to play in all NBA games this upcoming season. But there's still the note of Klay Thompson returning from injury. He will miss the first month and a half of the season at the bare minimum. And how good will he be when he returns? And how impactful will this transition for Golden State from being young with Kuminga and Poole and Moody and still being in win now mode with Steph, Klay, and Draymond? How successful will it be? Will any trades occur throughout the season to go more win now? Or will they end up floundering and not be able to compete as a contender anymore with this group of Curry, Klay, and Draymond, with the supporting cast they have, and while trying to transition with young players? That's what we're going to talk about in today's video. I want to talk about this Golden State team, the options that they could have this upcoming season, and the different directions they could go depending on the varying levels of success they have with this group. If you do go on to enjoy the video, be sure to leave a like down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new, and be sure to let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. That being said, let's go ahead and talk about the Golden State Warriors. Briefly, before we discuss the roster and the upcoming season for the Golden State Warriors, I want to briefly mention their off-season moves. Otto Porter Jr. brought in, I think, is a brilliant signing, going to give them good forward depth, and will probably start for them while Klay Thompson is out. Under Iguodala returns and will give them good leadership, a veteran presence in the locker room, and depth on this group. Manny Bielitsa can give them a little bit of spacing at power forward. Chris Chiozza gives them even more depth at the guard spot, where I think they have a ton of it, although it is quite young. And then Moody and Jonathan Kuminga were added via the draft. Jonathan Kuminga, I think, will be a very important part of this group off of the bench, giving them really good length and effort on the defensive end at the forward position. And Moody has the potential to give them a bit of impact on both sides of the ball from the 2 spot. The departures consist of Kelly Oubre Jr., which of course is easily replaced by Otto Porter Jr. and Andre Iguodala. Kent Bazemore also left and has joined the Lakers. A nice chunk of depth additions for this Golden State team, while also adding to the youth, like I had mentioned earlier, Kuminga and Moody coming in, joining Jordan Poole, Jordan James, Wiseman. The Golden State Warriors are trying to compete for a title this year, while also having the pieces to transition to the next good era of Golden State Warriors basketball, bringing in someone who has a lot of upside in Kuminga, bringing in someone like James Wiseman the year previous. They are trying to build the next Golden State Warriors team while still competing with the past team of Curry, Klay, and Draymond. And that could go really well or not well at all for them in this upcoming season. So of course, it's going to come down to, can Curry continue to play at an MVP type level? Can Draymond continue to be the Defensive Player of the Year candidate and an absolutely amazing playmaker? But then the biggest question is, how good will Klay be, and can he stay healthy? That's ultimately going to be the biggest deciding factor in how good Golden State are this year. Now, there's a lot of them. How good can their depth be? Can Jordan Poole break out? Can Jonathan Kuminga, Moody, and James Wiseman adapt quick enough to this roster and to NBA level of play to be impactful on a team that's trying to contend and compete for a championship? Because we saw last year with Wiseman that was a problem. Wiseman showed flashes on the offensive end, but he was not given the time to adjust to the NBA game like LaMelo Ball was, like Anthony Edwards was, like so many other young players drafted high in the draft were. And ultimately that led to him not playing that much, and Golden State having their best run of the season when Wiseman was injured, because he couldn't defend that well. And so ultimately that is going to be a big part, but Klay Thompson being healthy is going to be the biggest component. And even if he is healthy, come back in December and stay healthy for the rest of the year, how good is Klay Thompson? Is he still a great defender? Surely, knowing what we know about lower body injuries over the last couple of years, Klay Thompson probably won't be as good defensively, but can he still be a positive defender? How good will his shooting be? Will he still be a splash brother? Or is his three-point shooting going to be drastically worse than it was when we saw him a couple of years ago? These are questions that are going to drastically alter the outcome of the Golden State Warriors upcoming season, because there's no way to replace the production of Klay Thompson if he doesn't play at that high level or doesn't stay healthy. If Klay isn't great, then this team is the same team they had last year with a little bit more depth, with Iggy, Kuminga, Otto Porter Jr., Moody. A fine team, and a team that could potentially squeak into the playoffs, but nowhere near a team that can be a dark horse contender. If Klay can return at a high level, they have the upside to potentially be a dark horse contender. They have Curry, they have Klay, they have Andrew Wiggins, who's proven to be a much better player with Golden State and actually be a fairly good defensive player. They would have Otto Porter Jr. and Jonathan Kuminga, which is amazing forward depth off of the bench, as well as Andre Iguodala. And the biggest part then becomes, how does James Wiseman adapt? Is James Wiseman a better defensive player and a better rebounder this upcoming season? Can he lock down that 5 spot, or is Kevon Looney going to have to be the guy that is their starting center that they can depend on defensively with this group? So there are a lot of questions. You also then have to question how important of a piece is Jonathan Kuminga going to be able to be for this group. Will he be able to adapt enough to the NBA in a quick enough timeline for the Golden State Warriors to be able to start winning games and for them to be happy with his adjustment? Or is Andre Iguodala going to have to play a big role? Is Juan Toscano-Anderson going to have to play a big role? And even when you look at their guard depth, they have Jordan Poole, Chris Chiozza, Michael Mulder, Damian Lee. That's a lot of fairly unexperienced players there. So Jordan Poole, is he going to be able to break out? Is he going to be able to have a very important, beneficial 6-man role for this group, especially while Klay Thompson is out, because then Wiggins is likely to start at the 2, Otto Porter Jr. is likely to start at the 3, and Jordan Poole is going to have to play a significant role off of the bench. And so how important is he going to be, and how productive is he going to be? There are a lot of questions around this Golden State group. If all things go right, they have the potential to have Curry and Klay as the Splash Brothers, Draymond playing well, Wiggins doing his thing again, Otto Porter Jr. being a great depth off the bench, as well as Kuminga and Iguodala, and Wiseman can look like someone who was very much deserving of a top 3 pick and has a very great season, and Jordan Poole is a most improved player candidate. But they can also have the flip side, where Klay is injured or is nowhere near as good of his old self, and Draymond looks like the Draymond of a couple of years ago more than we saw last year, and Wiggins takes another step back compared to the step forward we saw last year, and we see Kuminga and Moses Moody not being able to adjust as well, and Wiseman still struggles defensively, and maybe Curry even takes a step back. Now, I'm not saying that any of that is likely, but the point being is there are 2 relatively realistic extremes that you can see the Golden State Warriors fitting into anywhere on the spectrum between those 2 extremes. The one spectrum could see the Golden State Warriors be a dark horse NBA title contender. The other side of the spectrum can see them not even be in the play-in games if it really falls apart. I don't think that's likely. I think this is a team that's very much going to be involved in the play-in or the playoffs at the very least. And if all things go well, I think they could be a team that could contend for a title if things go right for them. But at the end of the day, this is going to be one of the most interesting teams to see coming into next season. And I think they're going to be a team that everyone has to keep their eye on as a threat in the Western Conference if all does go well. For the upcoming season, I do have them finishing 8th in the Western Conference. I do have them then making it into the playoffs via the play-in games. Of course, in the play-in, it's always going to be hard to predict. But I do have them a bit lower just because, of course, Klay isn't going to be healthy for a while, and so this team isn't going to be that much different than they were for a large part of last year when Klay was injured. And the West is very tough again. The West is going to be hard to get wins in, night out, as it always is. It's no different this upcoming season. And so I do have Golden State finishing in the 8th seed, but making it into the playoffs. But as I said, let me know down in the comment section what you guys think. There's a wide range of spectrums of how you could feel about the Golden State Warriors coming into this upcoming season. So be sure to let me know down in the comment section, and we can have a discussion from there. That being said, if you did enjoy the video, be sure to leave a like down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. And if you want to hear my thoughts on other season previews getting into the NBA season, then be sure to click the box on the right hand side of the screen. That being said, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.